So, welcome to the Broker Collective podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Malone, president of HRO Resources, and today we're going to be talking about marketing with Spencer over at BrightFire. They're a really cool marketing solution built for insurance agencies. Spencer, good to have you, man. Do you mind introducing yourself and maybe giving us a quick overview of what BrightFire brings to the insurance space?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me on, Marcus. We're definitely excited about this. But yeah, I guess to give a little background about BrightFire. So basically, we started out in 2000. At first, our owners worked with any type of business, and then there in 2000, they got a local agency reaching out to them, and kind of as years went by, they saw, hey, we're getting referrals for this organically now. Hey, rather than trying to be jack of all trades, master of none, what if we just hone in on insurance and say, hey, let's drop all of these other verticals and just really be experts at this one thing and develop good scale for agencies. So currently, we've got about 2,500 clients across the country that we work with. And basically, we have a la carte solutions. We're really big on, taking a consultative approach. We don't want to push just, hey, sign up for every last thing we do. We really want to have a conversation with the agent and kind of understand and uncover like, hey, here's where you're solid right now. Hey, here's a big, area of opportunity. This would be the right fit to kind of seize on this and take care of this for you.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, it's funny as you're mentioning this, I'm like, man, our thought processes are so similar as far as how we've kind of built HRO, similar approach as to realizing the value and the power in our partnerships with these insurance agencies. And so we did the same thing where it's like, let's cut out all the other noise and focus on one thing, right? And really, make this a powerful thing, with this insurance broker community. And it's been incredible for us. And it sounds like for you guys too. I mean, 2,500 agencies across the nation. That's amazing. I mean, what type of agencies do you guys generally work with? I mean, are there specific size ranges that you focus on now that you seem to be a better fit for, or any particular criteria there?
Oh yeah, good question. So it does, in terms of size, there's a wide range. There's not, we've got things ranging from, hey, I'm a one-man show doing Medicare, all the way up to, hey, we're got, 5 or 6, 7, brick and mortar locations. So, things are very scalable, at that lower end, or, with a brand new scratch agency just getting started. It's often like, hey, let's tackle what's most important first. And then, they're free to add or remove services whenever they want to. So we'll often kind of get like, hey, this is what you've got, the budget and space for right now. Let's get you solid and, have a good visibility online, and then kind of scale things from there when you want to. So it can work at, different sizes. It's just kind of, what makes sense for that agency in the immediate term. And then as some of the smaller scale up, it's, hey, here's, where you're at. Oh, you want to focus on lead generation right now? Okay, let's have a conversation about that and, figure out what's going to be the right next step for you guys to jump into.
That makes sense. And so, I mean, do you kind of see that the size of the agency often dictates the combination of services that they use with you guys, or is it kind of all over the map?
There is some correlation. There's not necessarily, strictly like, hey, they've got, 2 producers, so they're going to do this or can only afford this. We'd really try to give, like value pricing and make things, accessible for folks. So it does tend to be more so sometimes when it's just like, hey, we know you're just getting started. This is, what you have a comfortable budget for. So obviously, if somebody's making that captive to independent jump or just starting the agency from scratch, they've got a lot of other costs like all at once on their radar. But yeah, we do have folks, hey, I'm, one-man show, I'm doing 3 different services with BrightFire. Or, for example, we've got some agents where it's like, hey, you know what, we're really established. We've got all of these bases covered, but you know what, we're really getting dinged by Google and we're not converting well because we don't have a lot of Google reviews. Hey, BrightFire, we specifically, this is a big gap. We want you to help us, with your review and reputation management service. We really want to push more reviews out there. So, Yeah, it's in part, obviously budget and what they've got on their plate, definitely comes into play, but it's not strictly, hey, this is only a good fit for a giant agency, or
Right.
hey, this isn't a good fit for a small one.
That's right. I mean, I love the flexibility. I mean, that's something that we, pride ourselves on as well, just having that flexible model. So, clients don't feel forced to go all in, for the full package, or, their
Oh
needs
yeah.
are different, right? At different stages of their growth cycle. I mean, their needs change, and so we're able to, be flexible and adjust to that the way you guys are. I love that about your model. And so maybe, probably a good time to jump right into, exactly what do you guys do? I mean, there's a lot of services that you provide. What are kind of the core, primary services that you guys bring to these insurance agencies?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So kind of at the end of the day, most of the focus is on, lead generation, because that's what's most important to most agencies. So, basically kind of the best avenues for getting, yourself in front of the insurance consumer online is going to be SEO. Hey, what can I do to get Google or, Bing to trust me organically? If somebody's in my local area looks up, contractors insurance, or, benefits broker near me,
Yep.
I've got to be there on that first page. Nobody's going to page two. Some might give up at the bottom of the first page. So that's kind of, or strategies to show up organically, and knowing, hey, Google wants to see A, B, and C out of a website. Hey, they're expecting, recent reviews, and a good quantity of reviews overall. Hey, they're looking at, these various, other third-party websites they trust a lot. Google's algorithms basically kind of saying, hey, you know what? Here, we don't know anything about smithinsuranceagency.com, but we sure trust Apple Maps a lot, or
Right.
Google My Business pages. So they're looking at, hey, cool, Smith Insurance, they're present and have good info, all the different places we're expecting to find them. So hey, we are more willing to show them higher up. We think this is going to be, a good fit for a consumer to find. So, we do have, the SEO bundle, and all the things within that are available independently, so basically the agency website, helping with review generations, and managing, local listings that I was just
Right.
talking about.
It's
Uh,
amazing, we have, it's amazing to me how many small agencies maybe, I mean, I've come across a lot who don't even have a website, I'm like, what are you guys doing? Come on, you gotta have
oh
a
yeah.
website. You gotta have a website. And so, I mean, it's pretty interesting, the different variations that you see when you come across some of these smaller shops that, some of them are really, going all in, and they're committed, and they really understand, or see the value, in making these investments. And then you have others who kind of, just winging it a bit, and I guess maybe working on relationships, and there's not a lot of marketing behind it. But I always think of marketing really in terms of, really, like you've hinted at already, supporting those business development efforts. When you have an agency come to you guys and they're looking for a boost in their business development, I mean, where do you typically start in that analysis of kind of assessing their current situation, and what type of solution that you put in place to help drive those business development efforts?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we do have a free digital scorecard. Some agents come in, with a particular goal in mind. Some are, hey, I want a better understanding of where we're at with our digital marketing. It's a priority for us. I know we'll talk to a lot of folks who are, hey, COVID hit in 2020. We got a website, jumped on that stuff really fast. But hey, now that we've got, more time to consider and have a cohesive plan. We want to learn more about where we're at with things, if we've got some blind spots. So, that's a good resource. So, we'll do all the legwork of, building out that scorecard, and then you're happy to review it with them. And, kind of identify, hey, here's places you're strong. Hey, here's something you might want to address, whether
Sure.
you want to work with us or try to tackle it in-house.
Right.
Um, and then, yeah, so that's, kind of one route. We'll also talk to a lot of folks who come in with, hey, my goals generating, this particular type of lead, or, hey, we want everything across the board in my local market.
That's a
So,
good point. I mean, does the type of prospect that they're trying
mhm.
to go after, or the market that they're in, often dictate the solution that you plug in?
Oh, that's a good question. So yeah, it can influence, in terms of geography is probably the biggest. So, a lot of agents, are, hey, we really want to own our local market. And so whether it's, hey, we really want to have, commercial auto, anybody in our metro area, or, hey, we really want to have ownership of Medicare in my local area,
True.
SEO is going to be a great fit for that. And then sometimes we'll get more niche things. Like, for example, we've got a client we do pay-per-click, like Google search ads for. That's,
Yep.
hey, I only want to go after commercial garages and only of, businesses of X size. And we can do that, but it's just kind of at the end of the day, these leads, if you're thinking about like that lead, funnel
Yep.
metaphor, that diagram you see, we just want to make sure there's not like a choke point, where it's a,
For sure.
this is so tight of a restriction that, there's not any meaningful flow of leads for. So for that kind of thing, somebody gets into something super niche, that's probably where, paid search advertising is going to be a good fit. And we can blow out, hey, there's only so many businesses that need
Sure.
commercial garage and are of a certain size in this area. And how many of them are shopping a policy any given month? So that's where it's, hey,
Yeah.
with something like Google search ads, you've got, the ability, we
Right.
can target, specific states, they could go, nationwide if they wanted to. There's just a ton of flexibility in how those are targeted and where they want to show up.
That's interesting. So are there any particular industries that you guys see more success in or others, or is you guys kind of feel like you have, that right solution for everybody? Really, it's just a matter of kind of just understanding their needs.
Yeah, we do have, good solutions for, the different types of, agency. We do work with folks across the board. We've got folks that only do like, life and annuities, or, only have, hey, literally all I want to be doing is commercial auto. So yeah, there's a lot of flexibility, but I think, you really hit the nail on the head there. It's, trying to identify, hey, this is the right fit for what you're trying to do. I
Yeah.
guess to give you an example, social media is something, agents hear a ton of hype about. And, sometimes folks will come in and, hey, what, we want to do Facebook marketing, we want to do content marketing on LinkedIn. And then that's where we want to go back to like, hey, what's your end goal for this? And then often they'll explain like, hey, we really want to go after lead generation. It's kind of walking them back, hey, as
Oh yeah.
much as we'd love to sell you this service, we want to have a successful long-term relationship with
Sure.
you. And, that's where, more of the advertising or SEO is going to help folks find you when they're actively looking for that versus, social media, obviously is very important,
Yeah.
has a great role with, current client engagement, referrals, cross-selling opportunities. But, if somebody's, just started posting to their Facebook page, folks, new prospects aren't going to, magically find them on that Facebook page and start reaching out.
Yeah, it's so cool too. I mean, that you guys do, there's so much that you can do. The one thing that I really, in our first conversations, really liked a lot is that, because you are so, niche focused on the insurance space, I mean, you really start to get a true understanding of insurance agencies, how they operate, what makes them successful, what's successful from a marketing perspective based on, the particular agency that you're dealing with. So, I mean, I would imagine that that's very helpful in terms of the timeline of an agency coming to you guys and then being able to go live with the strategy, right? I mean, I guess
Mhm.
maybe help us understand that process a little bit better as far as timeline and everything that goes into, an agency coming to you that maybe, they're a blank slate. They don't really have anything in place. They're looking to boost business development. Maybe they need a new
Mhm.
website too. I love the way you guys do the websites. What kind of timeline would an agency expect to kind of walk through this evaluation process and then kind of go live with the strategy?
Yeah, good question. So, no, for a lot of folks, it looks like, typically about 2 calls with, our sales team. And, that first one, we really want to explore, like we've been talking about, explore their needs, and present, hey, this is not going to be, relevant for this angle you expressed. Hey, this is, what's going to be the best fit. Here's why we think that. And then, there's no rush at all on our end. We'll talk to folks where it's, hey, you know what, we're locked in this contract with our current website provider for a year. Or, hey, we're waiting on a brick and mortar location to officially open. So there's no, time pressure at all on our end. If somebody has more questions or just has, hey, we want to get something going, but we've got to hit these couple milestones along the way first.
Yep.
But yeah, often I'd say that usually looks like, 1 to 2 Zoom calls with our sales team.
Mhm.
And, we just want to make sure they're really comfortable with everything and, feel good
Sure.
about the plan before they move forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have so many, like, I think kind of so much content built out already. I mean, as far as templates and things for websites, for example, I mean, let's say an agency's coming to you guys and they need, a new website. Maybe they don't have one. Maybe theirs is just outdated and there's, it's clunky and they're looking for a refresh. What does that process look like? I mean, in terms of, I guess timeline of getting
Mhm.
a new website set up, because that can, if you're going to, a typical marketing agency, and starting from scratch there, that can take quite a bit of
Oh,
time investment.
yeah, for sure. So, and you're right. That's kind of where, from only, working in the insurance vertical, you're right. We kind of know, hey, from a conversions perspective, like, hey, we know you've got this visitor on this website. You want them to actually give you their info or place that call. So, right, we kind of know some of that conversion science, and, can take care of that stuff for them. We also, have dozens and dozens of ready to go, pages of content, and, things like carrier logos and all of their support and claims information ready to go for folks. But yeah, there is the opportunity for a ton of customization. So, again, no rush if the agency's got other stuff going on, other plates that they're spinning. But on our end, we can definitely get a website live for them within a month. Kind of what that would look like. It's usually about 3 Zoom calls. It's about 2 hours in general of the agent's time. Sometimes we get folks who are super hands-on and, we welcome that too. But basically, that first call, we really want to get a good idea, hey, here's, the identity of our agency and our brand. This is what we want our prospects to think about us when they look at this website.
Yeah,
So again, kind of a wide spectrum. Some clients are understandably like, hey, I'm trying to focus on growing the agency. I don't think
exactly.
about websites at all. And
Yep.
that's where we can definitely, kind of show like different design directions and examples and just kind of help get their feedback. And then others will have like a really strong vision, or, sometimes we'll get like, hey, I like the aesthetics of my current website, but it's not delivering any, returns
Right.
for me. So sometimes folks will say, hey, you know what, I'd really like this, and this about, how my current website looks. Can you guys emulate, these parts with the new website and, improve on these other aspects? So we can definitely, take care of that for them as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's no limitations. It's not like, hey, do you like template 1 or template 2? They do work with, a website project
Yep.
manager and our design team, and, we want to deliver something that's unique to them and that they're really happy with before we launch it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think it's, it's a good combination because folks want, something that's going to make this process efficient, and kind of maybe some framework for a starting point, but everybody wants to put their own spin on it, right? They want it to feel like it's theirs and unique to them. So giving them that ability to customize, but the timeline and the time demand on the agency side is what I think really got my attention in our early conversations. I mean, I thought that was really important because, man, so most of our small agencies, I mean, you generally got anywhere from maybe 2 to, 10, 15, 20 producers.
Mhm.
But a lot of them, they're, two, three people. And, the owner is probably the lead salesperson, right? And so
Oh
they're the
yeah.
lead business developer. And so that's where they're spending the majority of their time. And so for them to exactly what you said, to think, okay, man, I don't have time to think about websites and marketing and all this and that. I mean, to know that, you guys have these resources that are really kind of, a little ways into the process, right? When they get started, it just kind of speeds things up quite a bit, versus, again, going in as a blank slate and maybe not working with someone so niche as yourself. No, so I really love that, just kind of thinking back in terms of business development? Because it sounds like, I mean, you guys are feeling that too. I mean, a lot of the folks coming to you guys are coming to you because they're wanting a boost to the business development efforts. Do you have any kind of case study examples on maybe ROI or data to kind of show, ROI from, on agencies that have worked with you guys?
Yeah, so and we actually, so with pay per click, we want to help them, determine what their actual ROI is. So, all of our services, we've got, no contracts and, there's no big upfronts. It's just, hey, you're starting this monthly subscription and you can cancel it at any point. We don't want it to be like gym membership, like, haha, we got you guys, you're stuck for a year.
Exactly.
So yeah, we do have, some case studies we can share for different, business models, or hey, what's it look like when you guys have done,
Sure.
personal auto in the past. But yeah, so with pay per click, it's really powerful because, if somebody's doing, hey, I'm doing a group benefits campaign, we'll
Yeah.
build a dedicated landing page for it. So if somebody fills out that form, we know like, hey, the only way they could have gotten here is from the ad. And then likewise, we can set up, a local area code tracking number for them. So like, a prospect sees, hey, here's this tracking number, I'm going to call that. And then when they do, it just seamlessly, starts ringing to the agency's actual number. But we
Right.
just, want to give them good visibility on the phone as well. Because, years past, I know I've talked to people and it's, hey, it feels like we got more calls, but I couldn't really tell, is this from the ad or, where are these
Yeah.
people coming from? So yeah, with the pay per click, we want to give really good tracking of both of those.
That's
And
great.
then 90 days into it, their actual ad strategist that they're working with on our team would love to walk through, hey, we see these phone calls and these names on the leads, and which of those closed, what's your average commission going to look like on that? And then we want to be super transparent and share, hey, here's, what you spent versus the new revenue that we've seen come through
Absolutely.
this.
And there's just so much power in general, just having that feedback, having those analytics available kind of tells you so much and allows you to kind of, tweak your approach and improve things in a lot of different areas in the agency. It's amazing, I think, how many small businesses in general out there maybe don't pay enough attention to that type of data or maybe understand how they can leverage it for their benefit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good point too. I'm glad you mentioned that because we do, have, hey, here's dashboards with all of your analytics reporting for your website, or, hey, here's
Yep.
all your pay-per-click data. But you're absolutely right. Like that doesn't do you any good if you're not, hey, what am I looking at? What's
Yeah.
relevant? So that's where folks can schedule calls at any time and say, hey, you know what, I want to talk to somebody from BrightFire's SEO team and understand this reporting better. Like, what
They
should,
can
hey,
get
here's
some
this
guidance
number.
around, well, what do I do with
Yeah.
this information?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
okay, well, here's this number. Well, what should this number be? Like, what's a good range for this metric? But
Yeah.
yeah, we definitely want to give them that long term, hey, we're here to help if you need website updates or you want to loop back, hey, or how are things going? We're happy to talk with them. We don't want it to just be like, hey, your website's launched, bye.
I love that. I love that you guys are not locking people into long-term contracts too. And like you referenced, kind of a gym membership type thing. I mean, some things you jump into it and you're stuck for the lengthy contracts. And so, this makes it easy for an agency to maybe on the fence to maybe test the waters a little bit, right? And they can kind of dip a toe in or they can jump all in, right? And not have some long-term commitment, but they've got options in regards to how they work with you guys' solution. I really love that. I mean, this has all been, I think, super helpful, man. I appreciate you sharing. Is there anything else? I mean, any kind of, I mean, I guess if you had to leave, one or two pieces of advice for a small agency out there
Mhm.
who's maybe struggling with their marketing efforts, or maybe they're just on the fence about even investing in this area for their business, what would you have to say for those agencies?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. So I definitely, again, I know sometimes it feels like, hey, I'm looking up articles or I'm looking at these resources from my carrier or like this MGA, and it just seems like there's a billion things to do and I can't tackle it. I would just, address one step at a time. Really low hanging fruit. You're gonna want to make sure you've got a website that represents you well and looks professional. even if, you've got referrals or folks, leads coming in that are offline, most consumers, like the very first thing they're going to do, especially if it's, hey, I'm going to give this person private information about my business or myself,
Absolutely.
look up
Do a
like,
little
hey, here's,
research.
yeah, absolutely. So just, having something where it seems like, hey, this is legitimate, goes a long way. Reviews also, a really simple ask from a client. If somebody's really happy, or hey, I've solved this issue with the carrier, this miscommunication for them. It's a great opportunity to just make that ask for the review, and text them the review link or email it. And we can help with all of those things as well and help you do it better at scale. We're just kind of getting that website and reviews. That's a great first step to try to tackle and make sure you're not losing business because folks don't get a good feel for you when they go to look you up.
That's a good point. Awesome. No, that's great advice, man. I appreciate you sharing that. And I mean, really, I think just a good conversation overall. It's amazing. There's so many, and there's so much opportunity, I think, just in the marketing area in terms of impacting business development. I mean, we feel that in our own company. You're absolutely right. I mean, nowadays, right, even if it's a referred opportunity, from a trusted source, I mean, most likely they're at least going to look you up for a quick second, try to pop on your website. Okay, yeah, this looks and feels legit. They're gonna check you out to some degree, right? So just having those basic things in place at the least, I think, make a huge difference, and making sure, it's kind of like it's like the smile for your business, right? I mean, it's that first impression that they may get, about your company. So I think that's super important. But that's going to do it for today's episode, guys. Spencer, I really appreciate you spending some time with us, and just thanks for joining us on the Broker Collective podcast. And everyone, just make sure to please go and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also find us at www.brokercollective.xyz. I'm your host, Marcus Malone, and we'll catch you on the next episode.